Good afternoon, everybody. So welcome to today's Friday webinar. So we'll be focusing on the topic, know yourself, lead others, emotional intelligence. I think it's a very important topic for all the healthcare professionals because as a healthcare professional, we all are proficient in the clinical intelligence. So we know how to diagnose, how to do the procedures as per the evidence-based practice, and how to create a protocol, all those things. Why this emotional intelligence we have taken as very important, because this describes how you are delivering your clinical intelligence to the patients and to the the people who are coming to you for the care in your healthcare system. So that is why we have taken this topic, and we have a lot of informations to share with you about the emotional intelligence. So we'll get into the session. Before that, for the benefit of the newcomers, I would like to take you all through the quick introduction about Skills for Med. We have been established since the year 2018, and we have been providing to commit comprehensive training program designed to enhance the capabilities of the healthcare professionals. And for now, we have 10,000 plus healthcare professionals who have got benefit out of us, and 75 plus hospitals have got network with us, and 50 plus course topics have been launched. So then with this 10,000 healthcare professionals, it's not a limit. So I welcome a lot more other healthcare professionals who have come here for today's webinar to join our WhatsApp community and join hands and build confidence with us and transform the patient care in your healthcare system. So about the Skills for Med Learning Pyramid, these are the 4 stages. As you all know, I've been saying the logo speaks in Skills for Med. So the stage 1 is about the service excellence skills. For example, infection prevention and control basics, professionalism, communication, all those things to set up the stage in the healthcare system to to start your career. This is for all the healthcare professionals, not focusing on one department. The stage 2 is about the core patient care skills. It's a lot about the procedural skills. So transforming you from the competency level to the clinical expert level. The stage 3, after becoming a clinical expert, it's time to look forward for your specialization skills. So for example, labor room upskilling program, ER upskilling program, and infection control nurse course program, and the clinical instructor program. Once you have become a specialized nurse, that's the moment to look forward for the leadership walk. So we have 2 ladder, which is like vertical and the lateral one. The vertical is something about becoming an in charge and supervisor and ANS, DNS, and nursing director, and where the lateral path is something looking yourself into the administration level, taking in lead role in the operations department and becoming the CEO of the hospital. So today, towards the end of the session, Dr. Pari will be showing you a path how to become a CEO of the hospital by having a good control in your emotional intelligence. So I have another announcement. I have 2 more announcements for today. One is infection control nurse course program, where the offer sale is running. Lot of nurses have enrolled, so limited seats are available. So it is 11,999, which is the course program we are running. And on right hand side, you can see the course leaders, and they add more value to this course, and this course is collaboratively given by 𝐾𝐨𝐿. And also another announcement, which is about the masterclass, which will be on 24th December 2025. Again, we have got a lot of enrollment for this program. Initially, we had the rate of 699. So we are having a limited seats, which we would like to give an offer sale of 199 price. So the topic is going to be on managing patient feedback through effective communication, especially Ankita Bigal, who is a speaker. She is an expert in communication, healthcare communication especially, where she is going to focus on an NABH pre-7 and pre-8 perspective. So this is going to be a very important and informative session to you all. So you can scan this QR code which is on the display, and you can register yourself. And also towards the end, we will put the link in the chat box where you can click the link and then you can register yourself for this program. So thank you so much for all your patience. So to know more details about our course, you can contact Ms. Jayanti. She is our admin manager, and also her number is on the display. And also you can visit our website, which is www.skillsformed.com. So yes, so today's speaker is going to be Dr. Parivalman Rajavelu. He is a Deputy Medical Director for Quality and Patient Safety and Consultant Surgeon Sundara Medical Foundation, and he is a visionary founder of the Skills for Med. So he'll be like a live recorded session is today available because Dr. Pari is having some external presentation. So he has recorded a session for us all. So like we will look into like after in a while. So I'll be moderating this session. So I am Stella Townsend. I'm the training manager from Skills for Med. So let us go into the session.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really glad to be with you all this afternoon. And what I'm going to talk to you today is about emotional intelligence. So when I talk about leadership, what is the single...
Before proceeding, Jay, can you, is this video is like audible?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
most important leadership you must develop? If you want to answer, you can put your answers in the chat and we can look at it. So the key leadership skill is emotional intelligence. It is in short known as EQ. That's also known as emotional quotient, but I think a better term is emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence shapes how you handle pressure, how you speak when something is wrong, and how you deal with unfairness, and how you support your colleagues, and how you also support and lead families and patients from the illness. And believe me, once you get into the hospital, all these things will be there in plenty. There will be a lot of pressure and a lot of things you will notice is going wrong, and you need to have to deal with it. You need to have the courage to speak up and tell that this is not the right way. So will you have that courage to do that? And how will you deal with unfairness? This world is not fair. You will learn that very, very quickly. So all these things you will be able to do very well if you have the emotional intelligence with you. So I just wanted to tell, now we all talk about IQ, intelligence quotient. So when if I ask what is IQ, everybody will be able to answer, because right from LKG onwards, we are tested on our IQ. So that is what is seems to be so important in school. So how well you solve logical and academic problems is the IQ. IQ is the intelligence quotient, or it's the how much of intelligence you have. Whereas EQ is how well you understand and manage your own emotions, not only your own but also others' emotions. That is why it is so important in leadership. And in healthcare, emotional intelligence is more important than IQ for day-to-day success. You may have an average IQ, but if you have a very strong EQ, that is emotional intelligence, you will become far more effective. So that is what something which is very, very important to understand. And the question is not, will someone change the system? The question is, will you grow into the kind of leader who can change the system? So that is very, very important. So what I am doing now is just planting a small seed in your brains. And already I can see a small plant coming up, because we've been doing this for the last 7 to 8 years. I've been going all over India and talking about this, and I can actually see a very tender plant which has come up. Will you sort of nurture it to become a huge tree? That is the question. So you may get inspired that yes, I want to become a leader. So the rest of my talk, I want to tell what is that we need to become good leaders. So clinical excellence is the foundation. Very, very important. So if you don't have your clinical excellence, that means you should know how to treat patients, how to communicate, how to be professional. All these things are very, very important. That is the foundation. But that alone is not enough. We must learn to understand ourselves and the others. We must know how to handle power, conflict, and hierarchy. And very, very important, we have to learn to influence without always having a title. So there are two things. One, how to handle power. Okay. So you need to know how to handle power. When you are given the power, how to be humble, how to be a servant rather than a leader. So that's very, very important. All these things are what we have to learn to become excellent leaders. And many times you may not have the title. For a long time, I never had any title in my hospital, but because of my knowledge of quality and patient safety, people will listen to me. So you don't need to have titles, but you need to increase your value so that others will respect you naturally. So these are all what we have to learn to become leaders. And in this short session, it is not possible to cover everything. So what I'm going to do today is only focus on one aspect, which is the emotional intelligence. So all of this will come by developing emotional intelligence step by step. So let me ask you some questions. How will you face these situations? One prescription is actually written wrongly. The dose is wrong. And you know that if the dose is given, it will affect the patient. So will you raise it as an issue or will you just keep quiet? And even if you raise it as an issue, that doctor dismisses your concern. So what will you do at that time? And then the next patient you go, it is a very rude or anxious relative who's shouting at you. How do you face this situation? And how will you face these situations? You will face, any one of them or even more in your workplace, and you need to understand how to do it. Nobody can teach you how to face each of the situations one by one. But what we can do is to give you a foundation so that with that foundation, you will be able to handle any of these situations. And so that is what I'm talking today. So in all these moments, you need courage, you need clarity of thinking and the timing. It may not be possible to react every time. You may actually wait and react at the appropriate time. Empathy is not only for patients, it is also for your colleagues, and very good communication skills. And the combination of this is called emotional intelligence. And I can tell you, just think of any leader you admire. Whatever we describe as emotional intelligence, that leader will have in plenty, in abundance. So that is what is very, very important. So the common answer to all these questions, all these problems is emotional intelligence. So I think I've sold enough about emotional intelligence. Now I've done a lot of advertising saying is emotional intelligence important. So you people started thinking, okay, I need to know about emotional intelligence. And now I'm going to dive into what exactly is emotional intelligence or EQ. So EQ has got 4 abilities. Very, very, important. It is not something like one definition. There are 4 attributes. You should have those characters in you. One is self-awareness, knowing what you are feeling and why. At this particular moment, how are you feeling and why are you feeling it? That is known as self-awareness. The second is self-management. Once you know how you're feeling, then how do you respond to these feelings is known as self-management. The third is social awareness, is reading what others are feeling. And finally, relationship management is handling interactions wisely to build trust and so that it becomes a very cohesive team. So unless you have the first 3, that is the self-awareness, self-management, and social awareness, it is very, very difficult to manage relationships. Many of the problems we're having in relationships is actually lies within us. Though we know it's very easy to blame others. No, she's like that. He's like that. That is I can't do anything about it. But actually, if you really think about it, self-awareness and self-management and also understanding why the other person is acting that way, that is social awareness, is very important to relationship than blaming others. Okay. So remember the 4 aspects of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. So what is not EQ? Very, very important. Emotional intelligence is not blindly adjusting or staying silent. So whatever happens, you have a very bossy, superior who keeps telling, no, do this, do that. No, you're not supposed to do this. And you blindly adjust, saying that, that is my emotional intelligence. That is being very passive. So that is not emotional intelligence. It is not swallowing your anger and tolerating disrespect. You should not be like a footman where everybody will trample on you and go. You should have that self-respect. That is emotional intelligence. Saying that, I'm being humble, and allowing other people to go all over you is not emotional intelligence. So real EQ means choosing the most effective response and not avoiding conflict. It is not that you should avoid conflict altogether. There will be differences of opinion, but when it affects, the patient's safety, when it is important for you to intervene, then you should have the courage to get into the conflict, not in a very reactive way, but with the proper timing, proper tone, and get into an argument and try and solve the issue. So EQ is not just being calm. Sometimes you need to be firm and need to disagree. I hope you have understood. I've told you what EQ is and also what not EQ is. So it's just being passive, just being humble, saying you're humble. Being humble is important, but don't take it in the other sense that you cannot allow people to go all over you, and not having any sort of argument with others, always remaining calm. That is not EQ. It's not that you have to lose your temper, but you need to be firm and assertive. That's very, very important, and that is emotional intelligence. So why is emotional intelligence very important in your career? Lot of research has shown that EQ is a very, very strong predictor of success than IQ in many roles. I already told you this. People who are successful have emotional intelligence in plenty. And 90% of top performers have very high EQ. You take in sports or any other thing, you will find that they're all very calm. Mahendra Singh Dhoni is a very typical example of high emotional intelligence. When people are shouting and going around him, see how calm he is. So even when he's staring at defeat, and there's only 1 over, and I don't know, there is 24 or 30 runs to be hit. Look at his face. It is so calm, but inside he's so determined. And many times this emotional intelligence is what has really made the difference in victory or defeat when he's in charge. So high emotional quotient protects you from burnout and emotional exhaustion. You know that in healthcare is the maximum amount of burnout and exhaustion of healthcare workers. But if you have this emotional intelligence, that will be less. And you may think, I don't have emotional quotient and I'm going to be nobody. Don't think like that, because like any other skill, emotional intelligence can be learned and strengthened over time. If you start today to learn to incorporate emotional intelligence and learn how to incorporate it into your day-to-day interactions, in about 2 to 3 years time, you will be, in a totally different position. So like any skill, it can be learned. Nobody is born with emotional intelligence. Some people have that inherently, but it is not that others cannot become emotionally intelligent. But when you look at the hierarchy, who is, actually having more power? You may not have the highest title. So what can you do? How can you influence others? So you need to influence others without relying on big titles or positions. And when you have emotional intelligence, you will not worry about how high the hierarchy is. Even if it is the medical director, the highest position in that hospital, if you feel now that it is the right thing to say, you will say it in the right way. So EQ helps you to be an informal leader who everybody trusts. So now let me get into the nitty-gritty of how we can start building emotional quotient. How can I start building emotional quotient? So we will take it one by one. Remember, I told about 4 things. First, become aware of your own emotional patterns. That is known as self-awareness. What is my emotional pattern? How am I reacting to the world outside me? So this is known as self-awareness. The second is create a gap between your feeling and your reaction. Very, very important. Many times we regret our reactions because we don't give this gap and immediately respond. And then we feel sorry about it. Oh, I should not have done that. I should not have told this particular way. These sort of things. Why is that you're thinking only after? That is because you have not created a gap between your feeling and your reaction. Feeling and reaction becomes merged together. So that is only, for the animals. For the humans, we have this intellect. We are the roof and crown of the evolution in this world. And we have this intellect and this capacity to control our emotions. Therefore, we need to keep this gap. The third is to learn to read the emotional and power dynamics around you. So look around you. So how are people feeling today? So that will make you empathetic and also understand the power dynamics. You should know what to say when. So in my childhood, my mother used to say, I'm sure all of you understand Tamil. So he said that day, idam porul eval pathanu sollanunda and solvanga. Idam porul eval. எந்த இடத்துல என்ன பேசணும்? In what place you should talk what? இடம். பொருள் என்ன பேசணும்? What is the context you should talk? That is the பொருள். And ஏவல். ஏவல் means யாருக்கிட்ட என்ன பேச. So according to the hierarchy, you should talk the appropriate things. So that is such a fantastic advice. Just one-liner. There are so many such one-liners in Tamil, which we can talk about. Idam, porul, eval. So that is what is the also emotional intelligence. So the power dynamics around you should know, and you should be able to talk to them appropriately. And the fourth, as I told you, is relationship management. So use these insights, that is your emotional pattern and your ability to create the gap between your emotions and reaction, and understanding the other people around you and the dynamics and hierarchy in which you work. You will use this to build relationship. Then there is no touching you. You will know become a leader in no time. So that is how you start building EQ. I will just talk few points about each one of these in detail. So step one is knowing my emotions. So how do I know my emotions? Every day we spend a lot of time in front of the mirror. We know our face, where the pimple is, where this particular scar is. We know everything about our face. But how much do you know about your own emotions? So that is what we need to practice. Okay. So pause during the day and name what you feel and why. So every now and then you ask, what am I feeling right now? Am I feeling frustrated? Am I feeling anxious or proud? Or am I tired? And then you ask why. Okay. So that sort of questioning and finding out how you are actually now looking, feeling is very, very important. Most of the time we go through life just blindly towards emotion. We very much know about our intellectual capability because the schooling system and college, every time tests us, and therefore we know we have a very clear idea about our intellectual capability. Physical capability also we know. We know how our body is, how strong we are, how weak we are. But if we ask what is your emotional strengths and weaknesses, very, very difficult for us to assess because we have never thought inside and asked ourselves. So very important to do this. And then notice common triggers and patterns. What causes discomfort, anger, or fear? What is that which irritates you? What causes discomfort? In which company or which thing you are not very comfortable? What causes you anger? What causes you fear? Think about it. So this trigger, if you understand, then you will also know how to make that gap between that trigger and your reaction. For example, yesterday I was sitting with my quality team and talking, and this there is a quality executive there. He has this habit of having a pen in his hand and keep twisting it. So for 30 seconds, I try to ignore it, but I was very uncomfortable. Okay, so I said, "Excuse me, can you stop doing it?" So that is telling in a very nice way. Otherwise, you can also say, "Hey, don't do that," because I am in a higher hierarchy. I can just dismiss him like that. But if I have emotional intelligence, I would say, "Excuse me, please don't do that. It is very distracting for me and others when we are having this meeting." So that is the way to react. So though initially I would have felt like shouting at him, that is my trigger. I felt, irritation and anger. I have to have that gap and then react in a very emotional, intelligent way. You understand that? So that is the second one. Then very important to keep an emotion journal after your shifts. At the end of the shift, just take a small book or on your phone and write that today I felt most confident when I did this. I was feeling so hurt when somebody told this to me. I was feeling very uncertain about doing this procedure. So it is not, criticizing you. It is just jotting down your emotions and how you felt during your shift. So very, very important, self-awareness is the starting point for all change. If you know where you stand, then definitely you can change. I was actually a very, very short-tempered person, in my younger days. But my self-awareness of that, the fact that when I get angry, I hurt other people, hurt me more than others. So I had this very acute self-awareness that I should control anger. It took a long time though, but it is what cannot be measured, cannot be changed. Similarly, what you're not aware cannot be changed. So there is this, I had this conversation with one of the doctors who had actually shouted at one of my colleagues. So when I raised, that this person was so hurt and the person came crying to you when you talk like that to that person, the person who actually was angry and shouted says, "Oh, I didn't realize it." So if you don't realize it, you will never change. So soon after shouting at somebody, if you don't realize, I have actually lost my composure and I have hurt. And if you don't have the courage and humbleness to go to that person and apologize, then things will not change. So very, very important that self-awareness is the starting point, and that is why it's the first step. You should know your emotions. I hope you understood the first step to know your emotions and how to go about it. Now let's go to the second step, managing my reactions. Very, very difficult. So you will understand your reactions, but how to manage is very, very difficult. So when something triggers you, you should not react. Very easy to say. So one of the things which I do is either count when you're getting irritated or the anger is rising. You do some deep breaths and count 1, 2, 10, and then backwards. So that gives you a space. Or many times, if I'm not in a meeting, when I'm having a casual conversation and somebody tells me which I'm actually not liking, and I feel the irritation coming up in me, I'll say, excuse me, I have something to do, and I'll leave that place. Because if I stand and talk, definitely I might actually lose my temper. So when you need to identify the triggers, the red signal, you should be able to identify before your mouth opens. Okay, so very, very important. And then you need to have these sort of smart ways in which you don't react. And in that space, once you create the space, you need to ask what response will actually work here? What will be helpful here? So once you create that space, that rush of adrenaline is gone. The rush of anger is gone, or the fear is gone. And then you can say, okay, how should I react? Okay. So very, very important. And also don't be very critical of yourself. Reframe your thoughts. Change by saying, oh, I'm very terrible at doing this. Then I'm still learning, and that's okay. And if your senior is making your life so miserable, you say, okay, she is showing me how not to treat juniors when I become a leader. So many of the leaders forget how they were when they're juniors, and they'll start bossing them around. If they have the memory of how they were when they're at that level, then definitely they'll be more empathetic to their juniors. So you have to reframe your thoughts so that you don't keep hurting yourself and making your emotional intelligence. So that will weaken your emotional intelligence. As I told you, self-awareness is the starting point again. So don't forget that. So between the stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space is our power to choose our response. Very, very important. And the person who said is Viktor Frankl. I hope all of you know who Viktor Frankl is. Viktor Frankl is a Jew who was in the concentration camp, the Nazi concentration camp, which was put by Hitler. You know how many of people died in these concentration camps? I don't know how many of you still remember the history. So millions and millions of people died in the concentration camps. And Victor was in one of those concentration camps. He was tortured to no extent. But in that atmosphere, he wrote very philosophical things in his diary. When people later asked, how did you actually manage to forgive all those people who were torturing you and write such, very thoughtful things? This is what he said. Between the stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. So he chose that power not to hate those people, and use that time which he had, whatever time he had in between, to do good things to people, write, about his life, which later he was able to share with so many people. So remember this, we need to create that gap between our trigger and how we respond. So step 1 is knowing your emotions. Step 2 is creating the gap between the stimulus and response. Now we are coming to step 3. So we have now mastered ourselves. We know about our emotions. We know to control our emotions. And now we are going to step 3, reading people and the power equations which is around us. So you need to watch your body language, tone, and stress in others. When people come and talk to you angrily, don't just listen to the words. So listen to how they're standing, listen to their eyes, see if they're tired. Maybe they just went through a very bad a night duty and they are tired, and that's the reason they're talking to that. Listen more. Always, it is very, very important to listen more. 80% you should listen and talk less. 20% only you should talk. Usually it's the other way around, right? We talk 80% and listen only 20%. So there is a very nice poem, like the wise old owl sat on an oak, and the less he talked, the more he saw. And the more he saw, the more he learned. And why don't we all be like the wise old owl? It goes something like that. Maybe I missed a few lines there, but you get the gist of it. Okay, so you should talk less and listen more. And also, as I said, the power dynamics. Listen, no, notice who takes the decisions, not just who are the titles. This is also very important at home. Children very easily can understand the power dynamics. No, very small children, 1 year, 2 year old, they are very emotionally intelligent. They will know who the boss is. So you should have that emotional intelligence to find out who's taking the decision. So you understand the power dynamics. Remember, that will help you in the idam porul eval. You will understand that. Observe who's heard and who's being ignored. There may be somebody who's very good, but they're not being heard. Make a note of that and help them to be heard too. Okay, so all these things are very, very important. So that is step 3. You should be able to look around you, understand other people, why they are behaving in the way they don't immediately judge them. Don't immediately brand them saying, oh, they're useless. No, they're good for nothing. Maybe they have a potential. They're acting because there is some other reason. Try to find that out. So social awareness is like developing an emotional X-ray vision. Imagine you had spectacles which had X-ray vision, and you could look at somebody and see whether the bones are okay, whether they have any fracture. Similarly, emotional intelligence is like having an emotional X-ray vision. Whenever you look at people, you don't look at the way they are talking, but how they are feeling. Very, very important to do that. Okay, so that is the third thing, that reading people and power. So seek first to understand and then to be understood was told by an author called Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey has written a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Leaders. So in that he talks about 7 habits which will help you to become very highly effective. So there, one of the 7 things he talks about is seek first to understand and then to be understood. So in that he talks about his experience of going to a train station. He goes to a train station early in the morning. Everything is so quiet. They're all, a few passengers are only there. They're all waiting for the train to come. Then suddenly, one man comes with 2 boys, maybe, 3 years, 5 years old boys. And suddenly everything turns upside down. These 2 boys, jump up and down. They knock down the bins and they start shouting, making noises. And all along, this man is just sitting in the chair with his hand in his head and not bothering what the children were doing. So Stephen Covey initially tried to ignore it, but it was getting too much for him. So he went and asked that man, sir, don't you think you should control your children? They're causing havoc here. So that man just woke up as if he woke up from a dream. And then he told, yeah, I have to do this. I'm just coming after seeing my wife who just died. So that single sentence, that this man just lost his wife, and that's the reason he's not able to think about controlling the children, change the whole outlook of Stephen Covey, understood why that man is in that position, and then he tried to help him to get his children under control. I think this is such a beautiful story which tells that unless you understand where people are coming from, you will actually brand them, judge them, and put them in buckets, and you will become prejudiced about them. So very, very important. The third thing, seek first to understand and then to be understood, is very, very important in the third important aspect of emotional intelligence. So the first one is awareness of your emotion. The second is creating the gap between your stimulus or trigger and the response. And the third is being aware of the people and power dynamics around you, and also understand them first before you think they should understand me. So that is the third thing. So the fourth step is leading through relationship. So how do I build that? So you need to build the relationship before you need them. Okay. So you need to be a good friend, and then only you'll get better friends. Very, very, you would have seen that in your life. So you say hello to that pharmacist, to that lab technician, to the security. Those people are not in a position to gain respect, because of that thing. But you could go out and say, good morning, how are you feeling today? So if you do that, you are actually building relationships. At one point, if you need the help from the pharmacy or the technician or the doctor, they'll be more than willing to help you because you actually built a relationship with them. And then very important to practice assertive communication, not aggressive communication. I actually told the example, that pen rotating and how I could have reacted. So I could have been aggressive and said, hey, stop doing it, man. Or I could be assertive. So both are equally effective. But when you are aggressive, then people don't want to communicate that much with you. Okay, instead of telling, why didn't you tell me? Say, I was not informed. Can we plan a way in which we can avoid it next time? And give feedback with curiosity, not to blame. Curiosity means when you give feedback, try to find out where that particular person is. What feedback will actually help them to grow. So that is being curious about the strengths and weaknesses of a person, not just to blame and then leave that place. Okay. And very, very important to connect conversation to shared values. So you could say that, suppose I said, that example I gave, doctor has written the wrong dose. You could say that I'm asking you, doctor, because I want the patient to be safe. If you connect that conversation to the patient safety aspect of it, the doctor also cannot say anything because every one of us are working towards patient safety, right? So I want my ward to be functioning smoothly. That is the reason I'm having this conversation with you. If you talk to a person who's very causing a lot of problems in the ward, you connect them to a common value and that will help you to build relationships. So these are the 4 ways by which you can build emotional intelligence. So when we talk about Florence Nightingale, what do we now know? She's the lady with the lamp. It's a very romantic way of remembering Florence Nightingale. This beautiful nurse in the middle of the night. She
Sorry for the interruption. The screen went black all of a sudden. So just a moment. I'm resharing it.
because every one of us are working towards patient safety, right? So I want my ward to be functioning smoothly. That is the reason I'm having this conversation with you. If you talk to a person who's very causing a lot of problems in the ward, you connect them to a common value and that will help you to build relationships. So these are the 4 ways by which you can build emotional intelligence. So when we talk about Florence Nightingale, what do we now know? She's the lady with the lamp. It's a very romantic way of remembering Florence Nightingale. This beautiful nurse in the middle of the night. She and with a small lamp, she goes and cares for her patients. But did you know that she was actually a very powerful lady? She was able to challenge powerful generals because she was in the military as a nurse and the doctors. And she used this day. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really and with a small lamp, she goes and cares for her patients. But did you know that she was actually a very powerful lady? She was able to challenge powerful generals because she was in the military as a nurse and the doctors. And she used this data. This is 1855. She used this chart to prove that death from infections and hygiene was much more than from the wounds. So these are all deaths from the infections and the hygienic conditions in the ward. And the smaller ones are because of the injuries and the other problems the soldiers had. And that is the reason she was able to change the hygiene situation of the wards in Crimea, where she was working. So she built alliances. She focused on reducing deaths, not winning arguments. So she is a fantastic example of strategic emotional intelligence at work. And that's the reason she became so famous. So we all talk about Florence Nightingale as a very caring person. What we forget is what she achieved very systematically with her emotional intelligence. And we have in our own Tamil Nadu nurse who got the Florence Nightingale Award from the president. I hope you people know who it is. Okay, so it is Alamelu Mangerkarasi. She works in a PHC and a small district hospital down south. But she has led community health programs. She's advocated strongly for the patients. She's got so many awards even before the President Award. And people know she's recognized for that. So it doesn't matter where you are, what your position is. If you have emotional intelligence, you will be able to achieve a lot. So that's the point I wanted to make. Coming from Florence Nightingale to the one who got the Florence Nightingale Award last year among our, So friends, let us see how emotional intelligence can build your leadership skills, because people talk about many leadership skills like courage, resilience, communication, collaboration. Courage is, of course, very, very important. If you don't have courage, you cannot be a leader. But emotional quotient is important because it may not remove your fear, but it helps you to act even when you're afraid, because you have that intelligence to control that fear and then move forwards. So that's very, very important. Resilience. Resilience is Tamil vidamuyarchi. Now you have to keep on working towards a goal. So you may fail several times, but bouncing back from rejection and setbacks without becoming bitter. That is, many times what happens, when people sort of lose 3-4 times, they become very cynical. They keep on complaining the world is not fair. Now everybody is winning. No, but I don't have the luck or something like that. They keep on blaming others. But emotional intelligence will keep you grounded. Not blaming others, but looking at yourself and improving yourself can help you to have that resilience. And communication, sometimes saying the hard truths may be very, very difficult. But as I gave you that example, emotional intelligence will give you that gap so that you can think about your response and communicate in a very effective manner. So you'll become a very effective communicator if you have emotional intelligence. And finally, collaboration and change. So how to change the system? And it is the emotional intelligence which will help you to stay steady on the course and keep on working at it. So are you going to be a leader with emotional intelligence or not? It's a question only you can answer. If you have listened to me and found it useful, think about it. Will I become a leader with emotional intelligence, or will I passively go through my career and then retire? What is that you want to do? Now think about it. Okay. So let me leave you with this message. First, you should know yourself. Treat emotional quotient as essential, not as an extra. That is the most essential trait you need to have. So as I told you, those 4 things you have to practice. Knowing your emotions, finding the gap between your reaction and the stimulus, social awareness, knowing about your what is happening around you, and building relationship. So it does not matter where you are. Yeah. So finally, I want to leave with this example of Hanuman. I don't know how many of you know the Hindu mythology, Ramayana. So in that, Hanuman was a very strong person. But unfortunately, he didn't know his own strengths. And this is bad, which had to tell him that, see, this is your strength. You can actually fly over the ocean. So when I say you are like Hanuman, don't think I'm comparing the looks of Hanuman with your looks, right? It's just a joke. So like Hanuman, you may not realize your own power. That is what I'm trying to say. All of you have your clinical skill, your moral courage, and your emotional intelligence already with you. Just look back in your life and how many challenges you've crossed to come to this stage. Only you need to recognize them, train further, and use them in your career. So in summary, leadership begins the moment you start understanding yourself, managing your emotions, and using your influence. You don't need any title, power, or position. Start understanding yourself, managing your emotions. And with that comes strength. And use the strength very judiciously for a very high purpose. So emotional intelligence is the foundation of all leadership skills. You can become the CEO of the hospital if you want, or even further. You can become the health minister, state or central. It is up to you. So remember, emotional intelligence is your strength, is your power, and also your protection in this world, which is trust. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really glad to be with you all this afternoon.
So we have come to an end of this emotional intelligence, the video from Dr. Pari. Hope the session was very useful. And, this after the session, you all would have thought how far the emotional intelligence is very important in our healthcare sector. So as Dr. Pari have said, so he have said a lot of, he have connected with three stories, like with Florence Nightingale journey, and also with one of the story, like how to first understand the situation, so all those things, I think it will be helpful for you all to carry away. And as I've said earlier, so the people, especially when you work in a healthcare, the patient will not only remember what you have done medically, and also, very importantly, they will remember you, how you have responded to them with your all emotional intelligence. So, okay. So how you behave is very important. So to balance all those things, so I think from tomorrow, so people all out there, like who are reacting immediately, as Dr. Pari have said, like pass, count 1, 2, and 3, and question yourself how to react for that situation, and act accordingly to be a very strong leader. And also I have said, like, to become a CEO of the hospital, you will get a lead out of the session. So this is the one key important aspect what you should have in your own quality. Identify yourself, like how to become a very good emotional intelligent person, and that's the great key to lead forward to become a great leader in the healthcare system. And also he's not limiting to the healthcare sector, he's also taking forward in the whole in the universe. So thank you so much. And also I have quite very minimal announcement, which is about the free webinar. So today is the last free webinar what we are conducting. So we will look forward in the January 2026. So for this month, for the December, towards the end of the year, we have the the masterclass on healing beyond words, empathy, and effectiveness communication. I think I've told you in the beginning of the session. So Ms. Ankita Gill is a speaker who is coming. She is an expert speaker in the communication in healthcare. She's going to deal with an NABH pre-7 and 8 perspective communication, which is very important. So Jay, you can drop the link if it's possible, or also the flyers are there in the webinar group and in all our social media groups. So you can scan the QR code and you can avail the opportunity immediately, as because the seats are filling fast, we have running a sale for it also. It's in the cost of $199, which is actually cost of $699. So for the certificate, I think all our participants will be knowing the process what we have done. So check your email tomorrow after 4 p.m. in your inbox or in your spam box. You would have received the feedback link. Fill the feedback link, and then with less than 10 minutes, you will receive your certificate in your mail inbox. So this is the process. No feedback link will be put in the chat box. And we have come to an end. So this is our WhatsApp QR code. And this is our infection control nurse sale, which is running as I have discussed earlier before the webinar started. So you can we will keep this QR code on live. So who all are yet to join our WhatsApp group can join this WhatsApp group by scanning this QR code, and also who wanted to grab this opportunity for the ICN sale can scan this QR code and log into our enroll into our ICN program. So thank you so much. Thank you all. So let me look into the chat box very quickly. Okay. Yes. So one of the participants have asked, like, participant certificate will get after session 24 hours. Yes, tomorrow after 2 p.m. And also, thank you, Jay. Jay have put the masterclass for communication, which is the NABH pre-7 8 perspective session. So this Razorpay link is there in the chat box. You can click that link, and then you can immediately register for the program. Feedback link, Dr. Simra, just now I've announced that feedback link you will be receiving tomorrow after 4 p.m. in your mail ID. So I think this session would have been very helpful for you all, and thank you so much for all your comments which you have put in the chat box. So we need to give a big thank to Dr. Pari, who have spent all his time to do this session for us. Yes. Thank you so much. Don't leave the session here. Tomorrow And from this moment, just know, follow all the things what Dr. Pari have said, and be strong in emotional intelligence. So thank you so much. So once you have registered for the ICN, or you are yet to enroll in our WhatsApp group, or yet to you also would like to join our master class, after you have completed all your things, you can leave the Zoom room, so that we'll have an understanding when to close this Zoom platform. Thank you so much. Take your time. Chat box, all the things are there available, so you can take it. So can you take next topic, automation mission, ma'am? Definitely, it's noted, Mr. Alvin Raj. So we are yet we are in the process of planning for 2026 calendar. Definitely, we'll take this topic as one of the week's webinar topic. Thank you so much for your suggestion. Thank you all. Dear all participants, so you have you're not into the WhatsApp group still, then you can scan this QR and you can join our WhatsApp group. And also this ICN sale to enroll yourself if you're willing to. And also we have the Razorpay link for the master class. If you all have done with all these things, you can leave the Zoom room so that our team will have an understanding when to close the Zoom room. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your cooperation.